live from the Sinister district and the great beyond. Good evening, everyone, everything, and all creatures of the night. I am Michael Paul, alongside Mr. Curbs. Tonight we take a trip to the Northeast Ohio woods with a guest who's seen a Sasquatch. Stay right where you are. You're listening to the Sinister district. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another week here at the Sinister District. Joining us tonight is a first-hand witness. We'll call him Phil, who has experienced repeated encounters with what he firmly believes was a Sasquatch. So I'm fascinated by Bigfoot. I've always wondered is there a hairy, monkey-like creature in the woods that possibly exists? Probably. It seems very plausible. But we are here today with Phil, and his story has been shared across many different places. Notable was this YouTube page that shares Bigfoot encounters. It's called Bigfoot Case Files, and his witness was the Ohio Bigfoot Files. So, welcome, Phil. Hello.
Hey, hello. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. I mean, where do we even begin? This is a story when you were younger, so like 13, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you're from Ohio.
Correct.
And it's a very wooded area, you said. So.
Yeah, so I'm from a little town, Northeast Ohio. And up there, the woods kind of go into the town, right? So some of the buildings are built into the town, things like that. Or not, the buildings are built into the woods, right? So this story kind of takes place in a little 33-acre patch. It all connects, all the woods connect. So there are Bigfoot sightings up in our area. They've been going on. I think one of the news articles was like from the 70s, right? But I had no idea any of that. So this takes place. I was about 13 when this starts. Going back in the woods, it's we lived with my grandparents for a little bit. My father was deployed, and my grandfather had found all this old World War II equipment that he had gotten from a surplus store from my uncles in the 60s. So, I'm interested in this kind of stuff. I had been reading books on different things with it, and so it kind of starts where I climb up on this ladder, because they had this 8-foot tall privacy fence. I climb up on this ladder, and I got binoculars. I got the World War II stuff. It's middle of winter. I'm like pretending it's the Battle of the Bulge, right?
Right.
And what happens is, as I'm looking through the binoculars, probably about between 70 and 100 yards out, I see this reddish, orangish thing moving in the tree line. It's standing there, but you know what I mean by moving? Like, it's kind of like, when someone's standing there and they're kind of shifting.
Right.
And so I see this, and I look at it. I'm looking at it for a minute or so. I'm like, it looks like a guy in a ghillie suit, right? I'm like, that's weird. That's bizarre. So here I am. I'm like, okay. So I put the binoculars down to, get the wider picture. I bring the binoculars back up, and it's gone.
Ooh.
I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, that's a little strange. At this point in time, Bigfoot to me was the Patterson-Gimlin film, right? I had never really heard of Bigfoot being anywhere around here, So I'm like, that's kind of an interesting one. So a few months later, I reconnect with this friend. I'll call him Tom. So I reconnect with Tom, and we're going for a walk in the woods. He does airsoft. Airsoft was starting to kind of become a thing. This is like 20 some years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Tom and I, this is the kind of the second one segue into it. We're walking in these woods. Now the woods had 3 sections. The first section was kind kind of a marshier area, right? So it's like there's a pond. You could tell like there's some dry wetland kind of stuff, right? The second area in the middle was dense woods. Okay, there's a trail system that kind of goes through it, and the trail is probably like 10 foot wide, right? So a decent sized trail for what it is, but it's not like a massive trail. But the third part opens up, and this is where so this third part, it's relatively open. Yeah, there's trees, but there isn't really a trail. It's just kind of like a little like path that deer would take, going through the middle, kind of some like maybe knee-high grass in some parts, right? So we're walking through the woods, we're talking, we get to this third part, we get to the end of the third part, back, because there's a little connecting part that leads to the wider woods, right? The wider everything. And we're back there, and we turn around, and we see this orangish reddish thing.
It's back.
It's back. It's over in the second part, between the second and third part. We get down, like we lay down kind of behind this log, and I had a small set of binoculars on me this time, right? So I pull it out, but I don't really see it. It's gone again, and we're like, okay, we can't go the other way because that's just going to take us deeper into the woods. There's no other way to go but back through there, right? So we have to walk back through that section. And and we're both sitting there like, we've seen this. There is something there. It's like, like a reddish, like a deep orange. You know what I'm talking about? Like a deep reddish orange.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
What time of the year is this, did you say? I can't recall.
This is probably May, I think.
Okay.
So the first one's probably like, yeah.
We're past
fall. It's like early May. Yeah, past fall. Past winter, because the first one that I saw at the ladder was like that winter, right? It was snowing out, and, you could see it. So we walked past it. Nothing's there, but it's just like this. I mean, the feeling was just like, oh boy, what have we gotten ourselves into, right? So we continue going, and it was like, this is just weird. So we get the we everything's all done with that, and that summer, so my father, he did reconnaissance. That's what he did in the Army, and my father-son bonding was doing stuff with him in the woods, and even like paintball. Him and I would paintball together, So my big thing was Tom and I wanted, and because he's deployed, but when he'd come back on leave, we were going to go up against him and just have fun, right? So Tom and I that summer, we ran practice patrols all the time. This is how you do it, right? This is how this would work. This is how that works. All this stuff. And for the most part, like, you'd get a feeling every now and then, like, okay, something's not right. Sometimes you might think you see something. And like when you get that feeling or you see something, like there's counter tracking techniques, right? There's ways of going about shaking tails, so it's not a problem, but nothing would ever shake off, there'd be nothing there, and we'd sit there and be like, okay, but there's nothing. The next big thing that happens, and this is one of the ones I put in there, is we're doing a practice patrol. It was supposed to rain, right? It's supposed to rain and storm that day. It had been raining, not much, like a little sprinkle. So we're doing the practice patrol. We're walking through, and we're in the second part, and there was this bend in the trail, right? So on one side, there's a dry stream bed that's kind of like this little ravine, and then the other side's just the thick woods. So we're going through, we're walking, and it starts storming. So as it's storming, I call my mother on the phone. I had like a little flip phone at the time, right? And I'm telling her I'm probably what, 14, 15 at this point.
Right.
No, 14. Um, so I call my mother and I'm like, hey, let's get the ladders out because in order to get over the privacy fence, you needed ladders, right? So I'm like, let's go get the ladders. We're coming back. And so as I'm talking to my mom on the phone, trying to hear her, I kind of got my head bent down to keep the receiver out of the rain because it's getting hard. The rain's coming. And, it was hard to hear her because of that. So I kind of got my head bent down to the side. Tom is leading us out. And we're hitting this bend in the trail. He starts going around the bend first. And all of a sudden he freezes. Arm goes up 90 degrees, 90-degree angle. The hand in the fist, his signal to stop. So we stop, I'm wrapping up the conversation with my mother, and he's signaling that he sees something up ahead.
Oh no.
I'm like, what? Yeah. So, I wrap it up. I go to him. He's probably like, what, 10 feet, 15 feet in front of me at this point? Because at this point, we're done, right? We're just trying to go home. And I'm like, what's going on? What's up, man? And he goes, I saw something.
Oh
I'm
no.
like, you did? You saw something? Yeah. He said, saw something cross the trail from right to left. So from where the stream bed is to the thick part. He said, it crossed the trail. He said, it was big. This thing is big. I'm like, well, what is it?
Was it
I'm like,
orange?
is it? Well, he didn't say, right? He just said that it's big.
Okay.
Like that's all he's
Right.
saying. He's like kind of freaking out, right?
Right. Right.
I'm like, do you think it's a bear? He's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what this was. So we're walking down there, and we had just come through this area. Remember that. We had just come through this. There was a patch of mud in the middle of this trail, right? Trail is about 10 foot wide. We come to this patch of mud, and I kid you not, in the middle of this patch of patch of mud is about a 14-inch humanoid track. Toes, you could see the toes, you could see everything. So we stop and we're looking at this thing. It's in the middle of the trail. And we're like, our eyes are wide. We're like, dude, this is a human footprint. It's barefoot. This thing's like, this is 14 inches long.
But this thing
like,
was
what is it?
abnormally large, this footprint, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was it was barefoot. And B, it was just abnormally large, right? Like 14 inches. Like, how many people have 14-inch feet, right?
That is weird.
And there's only one. There's no other prints. So whatever it is, like, it was crossing fast, right? So made this step in the middle of the trail. So we're bending there. We're probably looking at this thing for like 30 seconds, right? We hear the loudest, thundering crashing through the brush from where he saw it go, right? And you can feel the thuds of the feet hitting the ground, boom, 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 like that. And just you can see branches going everywhere. You can hear this just breaking brush like crazy. And both of us, it's running away from us. We look at each other and it's run, just run. I mean, it was nuts. So we ran. We get all the way out of the woods. We get over the ladders. We didn't really tell anyone anything, right? It's like, this happened. Like this happened, And even after that, we'd still go back and do things. We were teenagers. It was like, okay, so this deepens the mystery. Like, this deepens the mystery. There's something back here. What is it? So that's kind of that part. And then, so fast forward a little bit, I kind of, how it is that age, you kind of fall in and out with people, you kind of stop hanging out with people, things like that, right?
Right.
So, next friend, we'll call him Richard, right? This one's crazy because how we got onto the subject, it was another airsoft match at his place. He lived up on Lake Erie. And there was a field, and we had an encounter in that field, not necessarily with Bigfoot, But we had what we believe truly was a UFO encounter in that field.
Oh,
And so yeah,
what's
that
going
one's.
on in North Ohio here? What's
I
going
mean,
on?
it's lots. It's. I mean, I mean,
Huh.
there's reasons. There's jokes about Ohio, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So actually, funny thing about it, I've talked to him recently, and he says that kind of stuff that happened is still going on.
Hmm.
So even like almost 20. I mean, at this point, this was 2007. At this point, right? So we started like 2005, 2006. Now we're in 2007. So almost 20 years later, this stuff is still going on up in his field.
Oh,
You
boy.
know,
Mhm.
yeah. And that's one. If you ever want to hear, that's a different time. Or
Well,
if you
well,
want to take a detour,
let's hold up a sec, because what
yeah,
do
yeah,
you think the first your other friend you had and you encountered this
yeah.
the big Bigfoot event here? Did you
Mhm.
think it was Bigfoot? What did you think it was?
And by this point, I thought it. I by this point, I actually thought it was, because it's like, okay, 14-inch humanoid footprint on the ground. I mean, what else? What else could it be, right? You know, it's like now, because now I'm starting to learn more about this stuff. You know, starting to hear more about it, things like that. In the few months, right, since I had my first encounter, because that first encounter got me interested in this. And so it's like by this point, this is probably like July or August. Right, so the first one's like December. Second one, where he and I saw the thing and we hid behind the log, is May. This is probably about August. And so, you know, by this point, it's like, okay, this is probably what this is, you know. But what's it? You know, why here? You know, why is it here? Um,
Yeah,
and
that
you know,
is.
you tell people this, and it's like, oh yeah, Bigfoot lives in this little patch of woods, right?
And they probably think
Well,
you're crazy.
oh, yeah, exactly. So my thinking and theory with this, the more that I think about it over the years, this little patch of woods, because the people that lived around it would put out food for the deer, put out food for turkey. So you'd have flocks of like 70 turkey, you know, herds of like 20
Mhm.
deer. I think it was a feeding ground. You know, like Bigfoot goes to the supermarket, right? Because you'd find like there were no predators that lived in that little section of wood. There was never any sighting of predators. Coyotes wouldn't go there.
So like no
Bear,
bears.
no bears, nothing, right? So you'd have these massive herds, and then all of a sudden the herds would just go away. You know, and you'd find deer carcass. You'd find deer carcass. I mean, thoroughly picked through, but you know, like
Right. You said
it,
specifically in your talk there that no bears whatsoever. This
no,
foot looked humanoid, but it's very
yeah,
strangely large. This
yeah.
figure, huge orange, through the woods. I mean, what can it be?
No, I feel like reddish orange is sort of rare. Especially, I mean, I think it's common in like, I think some like monkeys and stuff have that color, but like for something like a bear or something to have that color, I think it's
Yeah.
kind of rare.
Well,
Anything
and
that would
that's
be that big.
that's the thing is like surprisingly you can hide even if you're wearing orange. I mean, there was a time I went back with my dad. You know, one of our matches we did, he had an orange long sleeve shirt on. You know, just because he didn't feel like changing, and you know the results were amazing. You know,
You think
it was
your
one
dad
of the
was in the
ones.
woods?
No, not that. No, but I mean, even wearing orange, if you know what you're doing, you can easily just slip away.
Did
You know,
you didn't see him the third time, right? You didn't. Only your friend saw him.
I didn't. Only he saw him the
Did
third time.
did
Yeah.
did he describe him as like looking similar, or did you never like ask?
I don't think
Like,
we really. I didn't really ask him about it. I didn't really ask him about it because both of us. I mean, like I'll be honest, we were shook up to the point where, like, when we looked and we said run, we just literally both at the same time said run. You know, when we heard it breaking brush, you know, and his whole thing is because it was raining, it was starting to rain heavier, right? You know, he was coming around the bend and he had just saw it right as it had stepped in the middle of the trail, right? And it was on its way out, but he caught the tail end of it. You know, he didn't see the full thing step, you know, from cross one side to the other. He saw the tail end of it as it's slipping into the brush, right, in the heavy rain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what caused him, and that's why he's like, I don't know, there's something up there. You know, I don't know what it is. It's big. It just crossed the trail. You know, it was you know, and when he said that, and I'm just like, okay, that's a little strange. That's kind of odd, you know. And then when you see the footprint and you're like, oh my gosh, you aren't just seeing things. It's not the rain. It's not anything, because that footprint was not there when we came down the first time.
So, did you
You know,
guys take photos of the footprint or like cast it or something, or?
No. I mean, we had no casting material, no knowledge on how to do casts like that.
Well,
right?
no, this wasn't like
Yeah.
You didn't have like let's say like an iPhone or anything at this time.
No,
right? It was, like,
no.
before that. Yeah.
Pull out the Nikon, the Polaroid.
What was it? You said the second time like you were hiding, or like were you like really close to it on the second time? Like
It
that
was
you felt
probably.
like...
Oh, sorry. It was
No.
probably about, at this point, the second time, right, when we were in the log, behind the log.
Yeah.
It was probably about 100 yards up.
Hmm.
But it was still because there was a distinct tree line right before you hit the third area, and it was staying within that tree line. It was over by where that trail was that ends there, but it was off on the left side. Well, from us looking that way, right? So our left, it's off there, just kind of like standing there, you know. And that's when it's like, okay, and we watched it. We were there for, I mean, we were behind the log probably about 20 minutes. I think we probably watched it about 5 minutes or so, right? Like, you know, and then that's when I put the binoculars up and it was gone, you know?
Does it have like human hands, like a well, I guess not like human hands, but like, you know, like I guess like primate like, you know, like primate like face or primate like hands and stuff.
I'll tell you, I've never actually seen its face. I never saw its face.
It was always like, I
Um,
guess, like turned around.
It wasn't always turned around. Like, even if it's looking at you, right? Like, it had enough cover that you could see it, but you know, some features, right? Like, it looked like a person, but a very hairy, large person, right? From what you could see. You know, it's just, yeah, it's bizarre. It's one of those. No, but arms and legs. Trying to think. Not too much. You could just see the body. You could see like right where its head is, but you just couldn't really, with the distances and stuff, like you couldn't really make
Yeah.
out much, right? And then when you would try to, you know, bring binoculars up or try to get a better look, you know, by that point, you know, you look away to do it, it's gone, right? You know,
So when you guys were running away from said Bigfoot, you said the trees were shaking, thumping. You could hear
Yeah.
maybe.
yeah.
I'm sure you think it was running in the opposite direction, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
It was-
seem like it's like violent towards people, or it seems more
No.
like scared of people.
But it felt big.
It felt big because when we're crouched, so he was standing up, right? Which we see this footprint. He's standing up. I'm kind of crouched. I took a knee next to the footprint, and I'm looking at this, and we're both just kind of like in disbelief at what we're seeing, right? Like we're just the shock of it, of like, okay, here's this footprint right where he saw it cross the trail. You know, where he saw something cross the trail. Here's this footprint. it's only one. If it was a person, and that's one of the things like we're talking about, we were there for like 30 seconds, right? Like, oh my goodness, this is a footprint. Like, this is insane. And the thing that we're talking about with it is like, okay, if it was a person for a stride like that, there's no way that a person would be able to take that many strides across the trail, right? Just one footprint right in the middle. So as we're doing that, so the noise and all of that, I'm trying to think, it was right where, so we were probably 10, 15 meters from where we saw it, right? As we're coming around where he saw it, we're coming around the bend. And we had moved up that 10, 15 meters, looking at where it was. We see the footprint, we're there. 10 to 15 meters away in the big, thick brush, on the side where he saw it go, that's when we heard when we heard it breaking brush. And like I said, you could see the brush moving. Like you could see it moving. You could see, everything. You could feel it, on the ground. It's something's hitting the ground, right? Running. And it's as if someone's like running through brush and just pushing it out of the way. Stepping on everything, breaking it, all this. And you could hear it running away from us, right? Like that's the whole thing. But we still, it's like, just run, go. We need out.
Wow.
Do you ever like hear it make like a noise? It's like itself, like any kind of like, I guess like a grunt or anything?
Zero noise. If it did, it would have been probably covered up by the rain or rain, because there was some thunder a little bit. I mean, it wasn't thundering much at that point. There was some that had happened, which is why we had turned around. But, if it had, it wasn't anything that we could determine or that we heard. I don't remember hearing any kind of grunts or anything like that.
So this footprint, a lot of Bigfoot researchers look deep into the footprints. How would you describe its look? And like you said, human-like, right? So how deep was it? Because that could also indicate how big the animal creature is sometimes.
Oh man, I would say probably about an inch or so deep. I mean, it was one of those. It was probably about an inch or so deep. The footprint, because it was fresh. The mud was fresh from that day, right? It was a beautiful footprint. It was beautiful. All right.
I actually have a friend who may have seen a big footprint from upstate New York. You might have saw a Bigfoot footprint. I could send you it in the chat. We could take a look. Maybe it's similar, maybe not. But
yeah, I'd love to see.
Let me send it here.
But no, I remember because it was so clear, this print, that there was no question that it was a humanoid footprint. Like you could see the toes, you could see all that. It was like, wow, that's something. Let me take a look at the.
Yep. So we got the footprint here. I will show it to our. Oh no, I can't show it. But if you want the reference, join our Discord server. It's in the photos channel sent by my friend Frank. And just... What is that?
Very similar.
It's muddy
too. That
too.
is very similar.
It's got the... you could see the toes. You could see the length of the footprint.
Man, that takes me back. Seeing this print takes me back. That is what it looked like.
That's a pretty good footprint photo.
That is it was.
Yeah.
That takes me back.
It's
something you could clearly see in your mind.
I feel like you can almost see kind of like a big toe.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of people, when it comes to Bigfoot footprints, especially, in like items like or surfaces like mud, say that it possibly could be like, like a human footprint that can get like distorted especially like in like certain weather conditions. But I feel like like what human is walking around barefoot in the mud and like like in the middle of the woods. I feel like
Well, it's one of those who's walking around barefoot in the middle of the woods and
Mhm.
who has enough stride to clear a 10-foot trail with just one print.
And right,
Yeah,
this
true. I mean,
footprint you
it's
saw that quickly, right? It was like quick. You saw the Bigfoot, and then you
it
went
was
and saw the footprint right after it.
yeah,
right? So
because it was one of those he sees it. I hang up with my mom and I'm like, Tom, like what's going on, dude? Like what do you see? And he goes, and we had stopped. We probably were stopped for like 5 seconds, 5-10 seconds, after I hung up and I'm like, what's going on? I saw something. Okay, well, let's go take a look. And then we walked up the, 10-15 meters to where we saw the print. And then then we're looking at it and then that's when everything happened.
yeah, it's got to be
was
some
crazy.
creature because there's no way it's not artificially produced. It's not. It's real. This is a real footprint experience you had here. So
Well, and even with my dad, we had done enough tracking. That's one of the big things he did with me was tracking. It's like that's not two footprints. That is a single footprint right there on the ground. It was very clear, like that picture. Very clear that it's, and even okay, so it's distorted. Something gets, we had just gone through that area. We had been through the area probably, I mean, no more than 5 minutes prior, right? Is when we had walked through there. It starts thundering. We turn around and call my mom. I say, "Hey, let's get the the ladders out." That's the whole thing. Is it's like, what person, right?
So you said the woods eventually got taken down where you used to go when you were younger.
They
right?
did. That happened probably 14 years ago.
I wonder where the wildlife went. All those woods gone.
I was so sad. I was so sad when they did it. I mean, there was just, yeah. There's, the stuff that happened with Tom, the stuff that happened with Richard, with Rich, right? The stuff that happens with Harry, I'm going to call him Harry, the third friend, right? The stuff that happened with him in those woods, those were big parts of my forming me. Because distinct, separate things that happened and things that we found. Because the stuff, and I think you reference the everything, the stuff that Rich and I found when we actually went into that connecting area. After talking about it, like, hey, there's something there. We go into that connecting area, and it's we find the tree structure, massive, like you see in the shows, and we're standing there, and I was dumbfounded. This is what 2007, mid-November 2007 at this point, and I'm dumb. We're dumbfounded. We're like, what is this? It looked like someone had built a structure. I mean, and these trees were massive. This wasn't things that had just fallen. And the one that was interesting was with that, the line of trees, because there two trees, it would be two big trees, snapped. They were snapped, laying on their side parallel in some areas, right? You see things like that. You see things like the tree structures. It was unbelievable.
Why'd they take the forest out? Were they trying to build something, or?
So I commented on, I was having some comments with people on that video, after it was posted, and there was a guy that supposedly he knew the people, the company, so where he lived in Ohio. Was it Ohio? I think it was like Ohio, a different part. or somewhere near there, that he knew the guys, the company that logged it off. They just logged it off, right? I mean, it was beautiful. It was actually, I mean, it was beautiful woods.
Maybe they're trying to build more houses or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably something like that.
I mean, you had oak, various oak, various maple, birch, all different kinds back there, gone. I come home, from school, and I see, them starting to log it off. It took them a while to log that off too. I just lamented, like, man, those were some beautiful woods.
How do you think like a giant creature like Bigfoot, remains to stay like so like elusive? Like people just like can't get like a hold of them.
I mean, you would be, I mean, it would surprise people how easy it is to really hide in the woods. I mean, reference it like all the times with my dad, right? Everything with that. We would, when he and I would go back and have a match, right? Just him and I, this is years later, right? We would start at dawn. We would go until dusk and only make contact once in that little patch. Like it's easy. I mean, it's easy to hide. If it's small groups.
Yeah, that's
small groups can disappear.
I feel like a lot of just you can't explore like 100% of the woods.
No.
Especially it's just so vast and stuff that I feel like that's probably why like deep woods areas. It's kind of like the Amazon rainforest. Like I think most of the Amazon rainforest remains unexplored. I think there's like hidden civilizations inside the rainforest that like we still don't know about because it's just so vast that it's hard to explore.
Well, and the thing to remember is that's just a little patch, 33 acres, right?
Mm-hmm.
How Harry got involved. So you remember my last friend. This was probably 2008. Winter 2008, December 2008. How we got involved. So he lived out by the area where all the newspapers used to say this stuff was, right? And how we got started is because we would go down, we'd do like Bear Grylls, Les Stroud stuff, right? Out because he lived way out in the boonies. Like he was like Amish country, right? And we would go, and we were talking about it. We were down there because it's a creek. It's a creek. I'll just say it's in the video. It's Conneaut Creek, the Conneaut Creek Bigfoot, right? And he goes, "You're never going to believe this." I mean, and this is a guy, he had spent his entire life out there hunting, scouting for areas to hunt. Like this was his life out there, right? And he goes, and he had hunted everything that lived there. And his big thing was, this is going to sound crazy, but there's a Bigfoot that lives down here. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. He goes, it's orangish reddish. It sounds crazy, but it's orangish reddish fur. I'm like, Harry, we got to talk about this, man. I said, because my experiences, that thing was also orangish reddish thing. We're talking about the same creature potentially. This is. So here's another guy who had no idea, that I had this stuff happen. He's had this stuff happen. His whole thing is like, I've been up on the ridge line, because there was a ridge line, a couple 100-foot drop, like probably like a 45-degree angle down to the creek. And he'd be up on the ridge line scouting hunting locations, and he would see this thing down there, and it's, and I'm like, I believe you, because I've seen the same exact thing. You're describing the same exact creature that I have seen. I saw this however many years ago. I've had people with me, and we've had encounters with this thing, and we had that. So Rich and him were friends too at one point, right? And so I'm like, Rich and I had this experience. We found tree structures, we found all this stuff. Before that, Tom, my friend Tom, he kind of knew of Tom. Rich and Harry were a couple years younger than me. So it's like, so Tom and I had this experience. We've had I've had this experience myself. Tom and I have had these experiences. Rich and I have had these experiences. And now you're saying over here in a patch of woods that's connected to this 33 acres that you are having these experiences as well. Now, and it's the whole thing of like, okay, so what Rich and I found when we went to that connecting section, found the tree structures, found that, okay, so what are the tree structures? What is their purpose? What is the purpose of marking things by downing trees, right? Like it's all this stuff that's kind of connected. Because that little patch, so you have the 33 acres, you have the little connecting section, and then you have the bigger woods itself. That's what I call is the bigger woods, right? And that bigger woods connects, everything's all connected, out to where he lives, out to where Harry lives. And that was interesting. So it kind of segue into the final the final saga of all of this. Harry and I decide, so that day that he mentions it, it's like, okay, when the weather gets better, we are going to go out in those woods. We are going to go into that connecting section. We're going to go as deep as we can, and then we're going to, let's just figure it out. And so we're talking, and so we come up with this plan, right? And the plan is we're going to go explore. Then we're going to go, there's a little section in the second sector of the woods where you could build like a campfire almost, right? And some people had, people camping back there had built a campfire. So we were going to build a fire, just hang out, talk about life, talk about everything. When the fire's dead, then we're going to split up. He's going to go to one side. I'm going to go to the other because he's like, this is how you push bear, or this is how you push deer, right? Him and his dad would go hunting. This is how you push deer. So we had great walkie-talkies. And when the fire's dead, I'm going to go the left side where that dry stream bed is, the dry creek bed. You're just going to push up through this area, and let's just see what we get, right? Mm-hmm. So we sit there because the common denominator is when you're minding your own business, this happens, right? So, okay, maybe we can attract it. So we do this, and we move probably 20, 30 minutes. It's slow. It's probably like a foot of snow on the ground, right? And we actually hear something big pushing away from us through the snow. Didn't see anything. It was a good distance away, but you could hear something big moving in front of us. And then the noises stop. And then we're talking about it over the radio, like, hey, you hear this? Yes, I hear this. Okay, let's move. It stops. It's like, hey, it stopped. Yeah. And then we reconvene. We're getting cold. We're all this. And our whole thing is like, there's something. He's like, it's not a deer. I'm like, it's not a deer because, deer don't necessarily make big noises like that, right? But there was something we heard moving. And, at that point we were like, okay, let's call it. It's cold. We accomplished what we wanted to do. And then just from that point on, I don't think I ever went back in after that, right? So that's kind of like the last time, because then just everything, life happens, it goes forward, things like that, right? But that was the final thing that had happened back there was we were moving, and we heard that, and it just,
But now,
and then how many?
I guess like due to all like the logging and stuff, he's probably no longer in that area, right?
Probably not. They've replanted. They've since replanted. probably the last 7, 8 years they've replanted, but it's not
Wait,
the same.
so what was the point in taking down the trees in the first place?
Who knows? They logged it off. It was an empty. I mean, it was empty for years, and then I come back and they replanted. There's trees sprouting. At the time, it was like little tiny trees, baby trees. It was like, and, I've gone back the last year, 2024. I went back, and I'm there in 2024, and the trees are a lot bigger now. But it's just like, okay, so what was even the point? They logged it off. They got their wood, and then they replanted. I was like, they're probably going to log it off when the trees get big enough.
You also said that you did some wood knocking, right?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Okay.
that was with, sorry, I forgot about that part.
Hold your thought. We'll be right back. Stay right where you are. You're listening to the Sinister District.
If you'd like to talk to Michael Paul or Mr. Curbs, shoot an email to thesinisterdistrict@gmail.com. That's thesinisterdistrict@gmail.com. You can also join the Sinister District Discord server in the description. This is the Sinister District.
All right, folks, we are back here with Phil, and he is going to continue his story on the Bigfoot wood knocking.
Yeah, so this was about November 2007. This is when Rich and I went back, right? So Rich and I, so we're back there. Remember the tree structures, right? I told you this is when we found the tree structures. So we're back there, and by this point I'd been watching more shows, right? So first encounters like 2004, 2005, and 2006, so the early ones with Tom. By this point, there's more shows, there's more things. It's like, hey, let's try wood knocking, right? So when we found these structures, we're back there, and we do, we did the 3 knocks, pop, pop, pow. It's like a big branch, right, and knocked it. So we'd sit there and we're listening, and about a minute later, a minute or two later, coming from like the deeper part, it was coming from the deeper part of the woods, right? We hear a response, pow, pow, pow.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was like, okay, let's do this again. So pow, 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 right? A minute later, pow, 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 coming from the deeper part of the woods. And it was just like, man, this is insane. We found the tree structures. We found like that path of trees, right? The path of trees, the tree structures. Now we got wood knock. So what we did, at one point, so we went deeper, a little deeper, found more of the same, more than like the tree trail. And then we're back there, and we do it again. We do it a third time, pow, 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 but we get no response.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's no response. So now we're back in the deeper part. We're a little bit into the deeper part. We had responses. We found more tree stuff going on. We did the wood knock and we had the responses. Now we're not getting responses. And we're standing there, it's like, okay, let's try it again. No response. And the feeling immediately, it's like this foreboding feeling comes over you. And we both kind of look at each other. It's like, we shouldn't be here. Like this was a bad idea.
Oh, get out of there.
This was legitimately yeah. As soon as that happens, it's like, okay, we're leaving.
Oh.
We're going, just the feeling, like the whole atmosphere. Cause I don't want to say ecstatic, but it's like, we're ecstatic because something happened. We found this stuff. We did this knocking, got this response, and then nothing. And then there's this feeling. It's like, oh man, this is not good. And then, that's when we left. And then, yeah, I didn't really get a chance to go back too much between that time and when between Rich and Harry. The next time I went back was the stuff with Harry, and a lot of that is my grandmother died a month later after Rich and I had done stuff. My grandmother died. Life happens. Trying to get things sorted out with that, and fast forward like a year or so later, and then that's when Harry and I went back.
Man, so what do you think it is? Do you really think it's Bigfoot, right?
I legitimately think it's. Let's talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a person. Why would a person? The people that live in that area, around that area, are older. Okay, everybody knows each other.
No one's
Right.
grandma's going out there and spooking them.
It's the people that live in that area had been. My grandfather, the house that he lived in, that we'd go over there, that we lived with them for 18 months. And I'm talking about the neighborhood now, right?
Right.
He lived, well, it's diagonal across the street, right? Like literally
Across from the woods.
right there's the house. No, across from where he had lived.
Oh, okay.
He was born there in 1934. He
Mhm.
buys that house in the early 1960s. Okay, like the late 1950s. It was the late 1950s. He'd lived there. His brother lived in the house that he grew up in, right? His other brother lived next door to him. The people that lived in that neighborhood, he had grown up with. My mother had grown up with. My uncles had grown up with. We knew there were very few people in that neighborhood that we did not know. Why? The whole thing is why? Why would one of them go into these woods, dress up as something, and do this?
But it couldn't
right?
have even been a person, because you said this thing was huge. The
Exactly.
footprint was
Mm-hmm.
it was too big. It couldn't fit.
Well, and then so you get the people first, right? And you look at it as in, okay, so let's look at what's going on. Well, it's like you said, like we've been talking about. It's large. The footprint's large. Everything about this thing is large. Okay, so is it a really tall person? It's impossible, right? Like there's no barefoot 7-8 foot tall basketball star running around the woods. Right, like it's there's things like that, and even up there, the concept of Bigfoot for a lot of these people, because it's a lot of older people. The concept of Bigfoot is Bigfoot, and because this was the concept that I grew up with, because of this, that Bigfoot is out in California, Northern California, I think it was, right? Is that where the Patterson-Gimlin film is? Out there. Why is Bigfoot here in little old Northeast Ohio? It's there's things like that. There's things where it's just, and then you keep adding to it, right? So the early stuff, you see the big thing, you find the footprint. Okay, now it's, going back. So, the stuff with Tom. Now going back with Rich. Okay, I'm back with Rich. Why is there a person in the middle? I mean, yeah, there's people that live nearby, right? But why are these people going out and building these giant tree structures? Why are people building, ripping trees in half to turn them into like some kind of like not path, but you know what I mean? Like obviously marking something. It's these are people that, quite frankly, don't have that kind of time. That kind of time to do that kind of stuff. Why would they don't have the, I don't want to say energy, but like it's different, right? It's I mean, there's a lot of people that would hunt. You'd find shot shells all over, mostly in like the marshy area where the ducks would go, because there were some ducks there, ducks and turkey. But are these people going back and doing all this in a part of the woods where there is no trail? Right? You got to remember where we found this. There is no trail. It's you have to, once you get to the third part, that's where the trails stop. If you go deeper, there is nothing. You're going cross country.
So what? Usually they hunted deer or turkey. What do they usually hunt?
Mostly probably turkey, some
Yeah.
deer, probably some deer. But that gets a little bit more finicky up there. But there were definitely duck. The shells that you'd find were bird shot, not buck. You wouldn't find any buck or slug, just bird.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I don't know what it is. I mean, American black bear, but no, that footprint looks nothing like a
Also,
bear
I
footprint.
don't think black bears are that tall standing up. I think grizzly bears are taller. I'm not sure if black bears are that tall standing on their hind legs.
well,
And most bears don't. Well, this thing was walking on two legs. Well, whenever you did see it, was
Yeah.
on two legs, right?
Right,
And most
yeah.
bears don't
Exactly.
stay on two legs for that long.
So that's out of the question.
Oh.
Any other animals?
Yep.
Probably not. I can't think of one similar.
no,
like-
and the thing is, like, would there be bear that show up once every couple years? Yes, there would be a bear that shows up in that area. But when that bear showed up, like, it would hit the news. Like, it would actually make the paper. Hey, watch out! There's a bear in this area.
Hmm.
And then people would talk about it. Like, that was the talk of the town. Oh my gosh, so and so saw a bear. It's, and we're talking like the little one. What is it, brown or black? I can't remember what the smaller one is.
the black I think is smaller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what it was. It's just like the smaller of the bears.
Yeah.
It's so it's just yeah.
Hmm.
I think black bears get up to, I think it's like 4 to 6 feet standing up.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
a
this is
grizzly bear's 8 to 10.
no,
I
and
think-
there's no grizzly at all in that area.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's even grizzlies.
No.
And also, a black bear wouldn't have reddish orange fur.
It might, but again, the footprint looks
Black-
nothing like it, and it's
No.
standing on two legs, and I'm pretty sure bears don't know how to knock trees back.
No.
So,
Or would knock,
I mean, that could be a different situation. There could
You
be
know,
like a
The U,
person there, but I don't know.
I mean, the U.S. is one of the, I feel like, few countries or areas that doesn't really have like any sort of like primates or of any kind. And from what I've heard about Bigfoot, I feel like it closely resembles, like, I guess, the behavior of like almost like an ape of some sort,
Mhm. And that's where I'm kind of torn. When people ask, like, what do you think Bigfoot is? Some people go the metaphysical route, where they go, okay, well, Bigfoot is this interdimensional being. I'm not saying it is, not saying it isn't, but it's. I really honestly, I think it's more ape than anything else. Just from what I've seen, it reminded me a lot of a person.
Yeah, I know there are like some theories that think like Bigfoot's like connected to like UFOs and stuff, and that probably what makes him like so hard to spot.
Yeah.
Now, you did see a UFO, you said, right?
Yeah, that story. If you guys want to even talk about that one,
It may be
if you want to talk about that one
intertwined.
different time.
Maybe.
I don't know if this one is. This is one of those where it's like happened in an airsoft match. Everything happens in airsoft matches, right? There were 5 of us. So Rich lived up by the lake. There was kind of like a small wood line and then a giant field, right? And the field's probably a couple hundred yards. And then there's a berm, probably like a 4-foot berm. and then a drop off, a little beach. The drop off is probably like 50 foot, 60 foot, then a beach, and then the lake. Um, so what happened that night was it was getting dark. This is literally a couple weeks before Rich and I went back and found all the other stuff, right? This kind of like got that conversation going. What happened was it was getting dark. We were going to do like one more round. You'd have like different rounds like throughout the day. This is a weekend, right? We were going to do one more round. We were reloading our stuff. We wanted a little bonfire to set the mood. So Rich and one of the other guys went into the field. They got a whole bunch of, because there was trees, like all like little tree areas. And when I mean tree area, like each one's probably like the size of like a king size bed, right? Like you'd have trees kind of shoved together and brush, and then like dotted just throughout the field, right? And a little game trail or something that leads all the way to the berm, from the wood line to the berm, right? Because the grass is probably a couple feet high out in the field. So Rich and this guy, they go back, they get this wood, they come back, and we're standing there. I'm reloading my stuff. I'm getting ready to go. There's 5 of us. And we look out in the field, and they drop the wood. Their mouths drop. Their eyes go wide as saucers. They're like, there's a fire in the field. And, all of us are like, come on, guys. Like, haha, that's funny. Funny joke. But, let's get serious here. We're thinking they're trying to freak us out, right? And like, no, serious. There's a fire out in the field. And so we look through the wood line. And the wood line's probably, gosh, I would say probably like 40 foot deep. It's not a very deep wood line, right? It's like an L-shaped wood line. Because there's a road and another road and the houses. It separates the houses from the field, right? And so we're looking at this. There's this fire in this field. And it's like, okay, so is there someone out there? Like, what's going on? It's like, well, let's go out and see. And they're like, oh, we ain't going out. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Like, we got to do something here. Like, everyone's like, oh, I'm not going out. So I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll do it. So it takes me about 5-6 minutes to, slither. It's like 40 foot, but I'm crawling. I crawl through the wood line. I've got a ghillie. I've got a ghillie. It's not like even an upper, it's a hat, right? And it's kind of drapes over your upper. And so I've got that. I crawl through. And I get out the wood line. So kind of just right out there's kind of a tree that had fallen. So I kind of get behind this tree. It's dark. And I see this fire out in the middle of this field. I can see the berm behind the fire, right? Because you can see, because it's light enough with the moon and all this stuff. I can see it. I can see the other tree areas behind it, around it, and I can see people moving around this fire. Like, probably like 3 or 4 people around this fire. And so I'm watching it for a couple minutes. I'm like, okay, so this isn't a prank. This is actually something that's out there. And this is where the UFO part comes in, right? So I slither back through the woods. It takes like 5-6 minutes to get back through the woods. I report back, and we're standing in the driveway, right? Because it's kind of like driveway area, everything, like it's like a gravel driveway, right? We're standing in this driveway, and we look. And so the road that's heading up toward the lake, right? So there's a road running east-west, road that runs north-south, right? North-south to the lake. We're near there. We see this plane. This plane is silent. It's, higher than treetop, a little higher than treetop. I'd say probably about 1,500 feet. I have taken flight lessons before, so altitude stuff like that, right? So it's probably about 1,500 feet, and this plane, it's quiet, it's silent. It morphs into one ball of light, continues over this road, and we're running after this thing, right? We see it happen in front of our eyes. We're like, let's go. So we're running down the road. It's dark, probably not smart, right? Because there's not really cars. That gets over the lake, and this ball of light dives right into the lake. Right into the lake. And so all of us, like the other four, are like, okay, this just happened. Now we really need to go into that field. Right? So at this point, I'm the only one that had been in the field since the fire. And now we're all going into the field. We walk into the field.
The fire was before that thing landed in the lake.
Yep. Yep, the fire was before it. We get out in the field. We can see this fire. But there's a problem. We can't actually get close to this fire. We walk the entire span of the lake up to the berm. This fire is about maybe half a mile out in the lake underneath the water. You can see the waves lapping over it.
Huh.
So we do one last match. Okay, well, it's dinner time, right? We eat something. We're telling spooky stories, because like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Okay, well, let's do one more match. So it's me and two guys, and then Rich and the other guy, the guy that actually went with him to get the wood. So they're one team, we're the other. We push out into the field. We get to one of the tree areas. So my guys, we get to one of the tree areas, turn around. I'm like, watch this trick. I open up my phone. I call one of the other guy that was with him, because we all had our numbers, right? I call him. You can hear his phone ringing in the tree line. He's just irritated. He's like, he's grumbling some stuff. You hear him going back to the house. So I look at my guys. I go, okay, this is our chance. We're moving, because we're going to set up an ambush. We're gonna let them come to us, right? So we're moving. We're following that little path, right? It's like a little dirt, whatever path. Following it, we get to it, and to one of the tree areas. The tree area is between the wood line and the path. It's like a small path, like 2 foot wide, right? Like just a little, where the grass is bent down, right? So we set up, and I have one guy covering the wood line in case they decide to go up that side. I'm covering front right, so I'm watching the path, and then I have another guy that's kind of with me. So we're kind of on line in there, me and this other guy, and then the third's watching the wood line, right? We're there for about 20 minutes, and the guy watching the wood line, we can, there's something kind of happened, and he crawls back to me. He kind of taps me on the shoulder, and he whispers. He goes, "Phil," he goes, "there's something moving up that wood line." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "There's something moving up that wood line." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, he can see people moving up the wood line. There's like a couple people that he sees. So we form on line. So it's like, okay, this is bizarre. Like, why? They've never moved up that wood line. That's in all the times that we've been there, that we've done this, no one's ever moved up that wood line. Okay, let's form on line. So we form on line, and it stops. The people just stop. Like, okay, this is kind of bizarre. We wait. There's nothing. It's like, okay, so let's fall back to the berm. There were a couple down trees in one point in front of the berm. So it's like, okay, well, let's take up a defensive position there. We got clear fields of fire. Anyone that's wanting to get to us, to get in range, is going to have to come out and step out of cover. So we're going to be able to just mop them up, and then we all go home. We sat there probably another 20, 30 minutes. Nothing. Nobody's coming out. We see nothing. We hear nothing. At this point, it's starting to snow. and we're getting cold, and we're like, let's call it. Been half an hour. It's getting late. We all got to go home. So we're walking back, and we're kind of like, okay, we're done. It's all done. We're done. The Rich and the other guy never left the starting point. They were too afraid to go in the field. They didn't think that anyone was going to go in the field, and they thought that we had agreed that we weren't going to go into the field. So who was in the wood line, right? And that kind of started the conversation of, okay, so this is funky. This is weird. Let's talk about some stuff that I've got going on. And that's when Rich and I decided, well, okay, let's look into this. But every now and then, Rich said, every now and then he still sees weird things out in the field, weird lights in the field.
So you think those were just other people in the woods?
No idea. No idea. Everyone, it's like late o'clock, it's snowing, right? Why would anyone be out except for us playing? Could it be someone else that was in the wood line? Maybe. But they were moving up, they'd been moving a pretty good distance. And maybe not, but the light in the field, the fire, that was bizarre.
So you think the thing that fell into the lake was a UFO?
I think it was.
Did you get
because
to
it's like I said,
investigate?
it started as a plane, right? Like you could see the lights like it was a plane. But then those lights in front of our eyes combine into one big ball. Like they just collapsed in on themselves into a big ball that kept going until it hit the lake and then went into the lake.
I think
So
it could be like a meteor or something. That could be my guess for that.
maybe.
I mean, like, did anyone
Maybe.
find anything in the lake? I mean,
No, like you could see, like, and this the thing is, like, even like, the fire, so, it's two separate lights, right? The fire in the field and then the fire that was up above, or not the fire, the light, right? Maybe the light above was a meteor. Maybe it was. But the fire out in the field, right? That's what prompted us to go back in the field. We see the fire, but we can never catch up to the fire. And then suddenly that fire, that same light, that same everything, not the light with the tree, with the road, but that we saw in the field, is now out in the middle of the lake. Under the water. You can see the waves lapping over this thing. It's weird.
Wow. So maybe that could be Bigfoot. Who knows? That may have.
Who knows? Who knows? But it prompted that conversation. It got Rich and I talking about it. Like, hey, that was weird. Humanoid things, like people. That fire. And it's like, hey, and we did throw around Bigfoot. That was thrown around, and that kind of how we segued into the, hey, I know this patch of woods where I've had some things happen. Want to go check it out?
did you see it crash in a lake? Like, was it like a giant splash, or?
No, because there's trees at the end of the road. We just saw it dive down. That was it. We didn't see what happened to it. We just saw it dive down.
How far in the sky was it when it dived? Like, was it like really up above?
No, it was about 1,500 feet.
But you said
like literally, it was a plane. It looked like a plane, right? And so the light that we chased down that road, right, it was like a silent plane. You had the red blinking light on the left, the green blinking light on the right. Okay, and then you have the little small white light in the back, just like a normal plane. All three of those lights collapsed into one ball. One ball of light. One ball of white light. We watched it collapse.
What about
that was the whole thing.
The plane? Like the plane just kind of turned into a ball?
Exactly. And then that's the thing that went down the road. It was over the road, probably about 1,500 feet. Which is how high planes fly. And then it picked up speed, because I remember it picked up speed and then it just dived right down to the lake. Literally,
Did
it was flying straight, and just straight down.
Did it make like any sound? Like did it sound
No.
like a plane? No sound.
Nope, no sound. It was silent.
Well, that is very strange.
It was. I mean, and that's the thing is, it's like, and even in like that weather at that time of night, because the weather wasn't. There was enough that you could see the moon, but it was definitely getting colder, and the moon was starting to kind of, as the night progressed, there was more stuff rolling in, right? So it's like, anyways.
Wow. So, have you heard of any other sightings, maybe of back to Bigfoot or anything to that nature in your town, besides from you and your friend?
So yes, so the paper, I'd have to dig again. I know that there's some articles, there's some stuff about it in the 70s that pop up, and then I think a few years ago, pops up. Oh, local saw Bigfoot. Local saw Bigfoot out here. You know, so there are other people that have seen it. Um, I'm trying to remember the description. It's been a while since I've read it, since I've read any of the papers. But yeah, other people have seen things. Not just me and my friends.
Yeah. I'm looking at Ohio ranks 4th in the largest number of Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah.
Apparently the number 1 Bigfoot area is Washington.
Yes.
Right? I heard if you camp in Oregon,
Oregon's
woods,
Oregon.
you'll find them.
It's Washington, California, Florida, Ohio, and Oregon are top 5.
Florida's interesting.
My favorite. So my in-laws live up in the Cascades in Washington, and a couple times a year we drive up there for vacation, summer and winter. And because my wife lives in a town that's very Christmassy, or her family's from there, and when we drive, we have to go through the Umatilla Reservation, and there's a travel plaza, and usually we'll stop, kind of go to the bathroom, stretch. It's up in the after you get out of the Blue Mountains, right? The Blues. So you come down out of the Blues, the mountain passes up there, and I always have to take a selfie with it. At this travel plaza, they have a life-size, giant, cartoonish, stuffed Bigfoot that they dress up. Because I've got friends that get into this stuff too, and I'm like, guys, and I'll send it to my mom. My mom gets into this. I'm like, Mom, I had a Bigfoot encounter. I said, I got great pictures. Let me show you. And I'll send it to her, and it's fun. Never had encounter with Bigfoot up there. Never, and we've been camping up there. Ran into bear. The only other place I've ever had any kind of anything Sasquatch related is out here in Utah. So I'm out in Utah. I had a friend that we would go up to the mountains at least once a year. And one of the years we went, he took me to an area where, like the year prior, him and his son had an encounter with something up there. And so those pictures, I think it was those pictures I sent you. I don't know if you remember that the one of the footprint and the one of the rock stacking. I didn't encounter anything up there, but the footprint and the rock stacking, that was the picture doesn't do the footprint justice, right? It's dry, kind of dry dirt. But the rock stacking, that spire that they're all on top of is about 25 yards in the middle of like this bowl in the mountains, right? So it's like this spire on either side. It's probably like 400-foot tall spire, right? It's flat on top. And each of those rocks is the size of a coffee. They had to weigh about 1,000 pounds each. So these first two are the rocks on top of the spire. And then this next one is going to be, this next one's going to be the footprint. And the other one, and we didn't have any encounters up there. the creepiest thing that happened, like there was one point I thought I saw something moving in the wood line, because we were there's like a, not wood line, there's like a tree line down below where we were, and I thought I saw something moving. It was like a deer. But the only other thing that happened that was creepy was, so up there were cows, because a lot of the ranchers out here will push their cows up into the mountains, and then like at the end of the season bring them down on horseback, right? Like actual cowboy stuff. And one of the cows, something happened to it. It wasn't time for them to bring the cow down, right? The cow is down. So the cows are just free range. We don't know what happened to it, but it died. But we could hear this thing dying. And that was a sound. I mean, we had just come out of this tree line, right? We're out in the middle of nowhere. We're starting to head up toward that bowl. And all of a sudden, we just hear like this sound. I mean, it's like this screeching, screaming, like, whoa, stuff like that, right? And, so my friend had worked for the Forest Service back in the 80s building backpacking trails up in the mountains. And so the teams that he was on, their rule of thumb was, if you're up in the middle of nowhere, always bring a long gun. So I had a Marlin in 4570 that I used to bring. Mm-hmm. And so I had it slung. I unsling it, rack one into the chamber, right? And I shoulder it, and both of us kind of get into a defensive line. So he's former military, my friend, right? So he's got a pistol. So he gets his pistol out. So we're kind of in a defensive line, like right where we stand, because we're in the middle of like this open area now. So we can see anything coming out of the tree line. And then the noise just stops. And you can hear the mooing, like other mooing, right? And he's like, "Oh, it's just a cow." I'm like, "That's a cow?"
Huh.
He goes, "Yeah, it's a dying cow." I'm like, "That's a freaking cow.
Huh.
That noise is a cow." He goes, "Well, it's a dying cow." I'm like, "I heard you." Sorry. I go, "I heard you." But like, it's, and we kind of stood there and we just kind of laughed at it. Not at the cow dying, but like, it's like, holy crap. It's like, okay, well, if that's the weirdest thing that's happened, hey.
And to clarify, this was in the Utah mountains, right, for listeners?
Yeah, this is up in the Uintas. Yeah.
Right.
And then shortly after that, once we got up to where that bowl was, is where the footprint and the rock stacking was.
Wow. Yeah, these rocks look huge.
Yeah. They were. And that's the thing is, if you look at the spire, you see all the trees around the spire. Those are the tops of trees. Those aren't little trees. Those are big trees, the tops of them. So something climbed that spire with those rocks and stacked them. And each rock is like the size of a coffee table. Probably about like I'd say about maybe 2.5, 3 foot tall and as long as a coffee table.
And this footprint is pretty cool too. It's hard to see it, but if you like look away a little bit, it's easier to see. But you can see it's kind of slanted.
The picture didn't really do it justice.
Yeah.
But it was one of those, like, I snagged those 2 pictures and I'm like, you know what, my life is complete. This is I actually have photographs now of something. Like this is cool. This is cool.
How do you think like a creature like Bigfoot can be sighted in so many places across the U.S.? Like do you think there's like a multiple of them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, why do you think? Let's rephrase the question, right? How do you think that brown bears are spotted across the U.S.? I think there's multiple of them.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean, does that mean like, I guess like they like reproduce or whatever, right? I guess there's like,
I want a baby Bigfoot.
The trails in my hometown, there are some trails that are there that were built by the Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
There's markers for it and everything, right? Historical markers, things like that. When you walk those trails, when you walk in those lands, there's an ancient feel that is indescribable. It's when we went camping, so we took my daughter camping for the first time this summer. She's 4. Um, we took her camping, and we were up by a mountain lake in the middle of the Cascade Mountains. And it's a feeling, I don't even know how to describe it. You know, like I don't even know how to describe it. The land, it's probably one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had, right? Um, it's whatever Bigfoot is, right? Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, I have no doubt that it is older than what we are, older than people, older than, a lot of places. Because that's where you find it, right? Is this old land. These are,
Well,
I mean, who knows how long they live, right? Who knows
yeah.
how long they live, how old they can get, what they are, you know?
I'm pretty sure. I think the first like Bigfoot sightings like were from like Native Americans,
Mhm.
where they like I think they would tell like tales of like a humanoid like primate like creature in the woods.
So I bought this book called Man Like Monsters on Trial.
Mhm.
The book came out 30 years ago, maybe 30, 40 years ago. And it kind of looks at the origin. It's not like specific stories. It's not like a book on legends, right?
Mhm.
It's a collection of scientific papers from a conference that kind of talks about this phenomena, right? What is Bigfoot? What is the origin of it? And if you look, every, I mean, it takes kind of a skeptical look at Bigfoot, you know, like, does it exist? Does it not exist? Kind of proposes theories. But if you look, almost every indigenous culture has legends. To my knowledge, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But my understanding, based on what I've read with that, you research this kind of stuff, trying to figure it out. Every indigenous culture that to my understanding, has some sort of legend, some sort of story, some sort of something about Sasquatch, about Bigfoot. You know, it, it
Yeah,
it's yeah.
I've heard things like every country like sort of has their own like giant sort of
Mhm.
primate like creature. Like I think like Australia they have something called like a yowie,
Yeah.
and like Asia has like the yeti. And I've heard like even in like Florida they have something called like the skunk ape or something
Mhm.
like that, which is and like
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
it might be Vietnam. It has something called like a rock ape or something like that. Like they
Yes.
all kind of have like their own like tales of uh like a giant like humanoid kind of like almost like a wild man type thing that uh like kind of stays away hidden from the public.
Yeah. There's something. There is something. What it is, who knows? You know, I don't.
I think the sheer amount of sightings and all across the world and everything makes me believe that all these people like can't be wrong. You know what I'm saying?
There's
No.
too many.
There's no way that sheer amount of people like mistook a bear or something. Like there's been
It's
way too many sightings.
Definitely the
it's
footprints. Yeah.
there's so much that's out there, right? What is it? Snellgrove Lake. You guys have heard of Snellgrove Lake, right? I think it's Snellgrove Lake.
Oh, what's that?
So the first time I heard about it, some Monster Quest on the History Channel went up there. That's a famous one. It's a cabin up on this lake up in British Columbia,
Right.
and it's just there's something that's up there. There's something that's attacked the cabin before. Um, people have had sightings for decades of something up there.
That's a scary one.
Yeah, yeah. But and that's my whole thing is like, what it's there's too much, and I get it, anecdotal evidence, right? Where's the hard evidence? Where's the bodies? Where's this? Where's that? Anecdotal evidence, it's everywhere. It's like you were saying, right? There's just so much of it out there. Yeah, how are people mistaking bears? Look at my friend. Look at Harry, right? Harry spent all of his spare time up in the woods. He would come home from school. He would go to the woods. He would do his thing. Hunting, scouting new hunting locations. Doing all this different stuff. He knows what the wildlife looks like. He knows what's any of this. So when he says there is something I've seen up there that I don't know what it is, right? Well, that's the big thing. Is they just it's there's just so much of it. There's so much of it that's out there. There's so much that goes on, so much everywhere,
Yeah, it's crazy how we don't have a good video of it yet, though. We need to get a good video of it. That's our mission here. We're gonna get one.
Eventually, who knows? Some of these videos people write off as fake. Who knows if they're real or right?
Yeah, it's gonna get worse though with the AI. It's not looking good.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons those pictures that I sent. That's one of the reasons I treasure those pictures, because that's, for me, people can say whatever they want. Oh, someone that went up there and stacked those rocks. How? Physically, how? How is a person going to do it? There is no way to get mechanical equipment up there.
Yeah.
Everything that's done up there is done on horseback. Right. Helicopter, you can do helicopter, but why would someone do that? Spend that kind of money to do it. It just, there's things like that, right? It's like, when you think about the people that are like, oh, well, that's a hoax. Let's talk about that, right? Why would someone? You have to think. Why would someone put that energy into it?
Okay, let's. I want to talk about the biggest thing in Bigfoot. Probably the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yes.
I said that right. But yeah, this is what started it all basically. And it doesn't look orangish, so maybe this is a different type of Bigfoot, or maybe it's not. So what do you think this is from after seeing your own experience?
That's a good question. There's oh man, when was this? This was early 60s.
I think it was 1967. I think it was 1967. Yeah,
67. Bigfoot, and there's always been legends up there, right? But there's always like, oh, Uncle Bob saw something. You have the film.
Yeah.
The question is like, could it be someone in a suit? Okay, maybe. But then you read, people that have actually looked at it, cleaned up the footage, and have said, like, there are details that, for a suit at that time period, might not have been able to capture those details, right? But there's other people that say, oh, I was the guy in the suit. There's, who is it? I think it's Gimlin or Gimli. Right, he stands by the fact that actually happened. Roger Patterson, I think Patterson died in the 70s. He died like a few years later, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
He stood by it. He stood by the fact that this actually happened. It's I want to believe that it is something. However, I at this point, there's I don't think there's any way we'd ever know. We have the modern technology, and people said, like, they've stabilized the film, and if the film stabilized using modern cleaning up stuff, technology for it, you'd have to think that they'd be able to see something, right? Something that's not right with it, something that would show this is a guy with a suit. But my understanding from what I've heard is that no one really has.
To me, I've always thought it does kind of look like a actor in a suit-ish. It always sort of looked like a little, especially for like when it comes to like animal behavior. I feel like
Yeah.
to just be walking and then just looking back like that seems pretty convenient. But I now looking at some of this stuff right here, like someone tried to recreate it, and you can tell like there's just a difference with the arms. Like, look,
Yeah.
someone like people have tried to recreate it in like their own way, and just it doesn't seem to be the same. Like the arms are just really lanky.
I really want to believe this
Yeah,
one. But
yeah.
I don't know, because that image that generated the face, like, it just doesn't look like the one in the film. Because it
No.
looks like there's an eye hole or something in the middle there, and it just doesn't look like it would fit it. But I don't know. So I want to believe it.
But it really is like super impressive. If it is an actor in a suit, it's super impressive and really well done. For us to still be like debating whether it's real or not to this day. I think a lot of evidence sort of points to it being like an actor in a suit, but like I feel like there's just still things that are like kind of odd about the video, like especially the length of the limbs and everything that still like sort of leave some questions where like you
Yeah.
can't like 100% like confirm it to be so.
Yeah. There's a lot of proportions with it. Sorry.
Yeah,
There's
the
a lot of
proportions are
proportions
very
with it.
unhuman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to fake it back then, but you never know.
I think they definitely could have gotten a costume back then. My big thing is the proportions. I feel like the costume for it could have definitely been possible back in the day. I mean, I'm not sure if you heard of a show called $6 Million Man.
Yes.
Yeah, you probably know the Bigfoot episode.
I don't know the episode, but
There's an
I
episode
know
where
of the show.
he basically like fights Bigfoot or something, and it took place, I think, at least like 5, 6, maybe like 7 years after the Patterson-Gimlin film. But I don't think there was like should have been like enough like advancements in technology or like that could have made like like the one in the 1967 not possible, but the one in the $1 Million Man show possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. It's plus you got to consider costume of that size too, right? Like
Yeah.
getting it up there. Yeah, they're on horseback, but still, the logistics. Who knows? I like we were talking. I want to believe. I want to believe, but I really could go any way.
Yeah. I know other like famous photos or videos of other mysterious I guess cryptids have been proven fake within the past a few decades. Like I know the famous like Loch Ness monster photo was like shown to be like actually just like a toy.
Yes.
And it was just like in the water or something. I think it was like the guy's grandson that exposed it or something like that.
Loch Ness. That I used to love it. I used to love Loch Ness monster.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the more you think about it, and again like the hoax, things like that. It's who knows if it's real or not. That have people seen something? Sure, but what are the chances of it being something?
I feel like definitely it could be before our time, like a dinosaur. Probably something similar existed, definitely, for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
it's just
that's something. It sounds like with a lot of these cryptids, or at least like a few of them, it sounds like almost sort of like some of them are like prehistoric animals, or like they're
Mhm.
like the Loch Ness monster is similar to I think it's called like the plesiosaur, like that dinosaur,
Mhm.
and Bigfoot's sort of similar to like a ancient kind of like primate called like a Gigantopithecus, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up. That was a lot to cover.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna send those photos that you got and everything. We'll put in the Discord server. I'll send you the invite there. But
Cool.
yeah, if you guys have any questions or whatever, maybe you have your own photos or experiences, please email us and or you could join the Discord. So we appreciate your time, Phil. And
Yeah.
yeah, any last words here to note?
No, I appreciate you having me on. And I think the final thing is that I would have to say is, because everyone always talks about how, sorry, there's, some people feel shame about telling their story, and I don't think there's any shame in it. You know,
Definitely not.
um,
Yeah.
it's that's why my thing is always if someone's had an encounter or a story, tell it. Talk about it. It's join the link of people who have been doing it for as long as human culture's existed.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Yeah.
Mhm.
but no, thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure, guys.
Thank you, and until next time, folks, it's been a good one. From the Sinister District and the Great Beyond, I wish you all a good night. See you next time. Say goodbye, Curbs.
Goodbye.